In the peaceful city of Pleasant Grove, Utah, a prominent doctor and his wife lived what seemed like an enviable life. But beneath the surface of their lives, a tangled web of deceit and betrayal was quietly forming. On April 11th, 2007, Michelle was found unresponsive in her home bathtub. What initially seemed like a tragic accident soon took a darker turn. Michelle Marie McNeil was a devoted mother and a loving wife. Known for her warm personality and strong faith, Michelle dedicated her life to raising her 8 children, including 4 biological children and 4 adopted from Ukraine. She was described by those who knew her as kind-hearted and deeply committed to her family. Despite the challenges of managing a large household, Michelle worked tirelessly to ensure her children were cared for and supported. Her husband, Dr. Martin McNeil, was a successful physician and lawyer who had built a prominent reputation in Utah. To the outside world, Martin appeared to be a caring husband and a doting father. His medical career afforded the McNeil family a comfortable lifestyle, complete with a spacious home and opportunities for travel. However, those closest to the family began noticing another side of Martin, one marked by control and manipulation. Martin's behavior often placed immense pressure on Michelle. As a doctor, he insisted she undergo cosmetic surgery, claiming it would improve her appearance. Michelle reluctantly agreed, but her family and friends noted her discomfort with the idea. Following the surgery, her health began to decline, and she expressed concerns about the medications Martin had prescribed to her. At home, the McNeils presented the image of a thriving family. But behind closed doors, tensions were growing. Michelle's children would later reveal how Martin's detached and demanding nature created strain within the household. Despite these challenges, Michelle remained the glue that held the family together. April 11th, 2007 started as an ordinary day in the McNeil household. But by the time the sun set, a family would be left shattered, and the peaceful town of Pleasant Grove, Utah, would never be the same. It was early in the morning when Dr. Martin McNeil found his wife, Michelle, unresponsive in their home. He immediately called 911, his voice frantic as he told the dispatcher, "I found my wife. She's not breathing. I think she drowned." He went on to explain that Michelle had been in the bathtub and had possibly slipped or fainted, causing her to drown. The dispatcher, trying to gather more details, asked if Michelle had any health issues. Martin claimed that Michelle had recently undergone cosmetic surgery and that perhaps her weakened state had caused her to collapse in the tub. As paramedics arrived at the scene, they attempted to revive Michelle, but it was too late. She was declared dead at the scene. Michelle's death was ruled an accidental drowning by the local authorities. However, this explanation didn't sit well with many who knew her. Family members and friends who had seen Michelle in the days leading up to her death expressed their disbelief. Michelle was a healthy, active woman, and there were no signs that she had ever been at risk of drowning in a bathtub. Even more troubling were the inconsistencies in Martin's story. When detectives began reviewing the details of the day, they noted several things that didn't add up. First, Martin had waited several hours before calling 911, and he seemed unusually calm when emergency responders arrived. His explanation for the delay, claiming he had tried to perform CPR for an extended period, was later contradicted by forensic evidence that showed no signs of attempted resuscitation. Moreover, Martin's behavior in the days following Michelle's death raised more red flags. He was quick to take control of the situation and even insisted that an autopsy not be performed, a move that only fueled further suspicion. In the hours after Michelle's body was removed from the home, investigators began to look more closely at her medical history. It was discovered that Martin had been prescribing Michelle various medications, including painkillers, and had even made arrangements for her to undergo surgery without consulting any outside medical opinions. Some of these medications were not listed on Michelle's official medical records, suggesting that Martin had been managing her health care more closely than necessary. The timeline surrounding Michelle's death was also suspicious. Family members recalled how Martin had made plans with his mistress, Gypsy Willis, in the days leading up to Michelle's death. Shortly after Michelle's passing, Martin made the swift decision to hire Gypsy as a nanny for his children, a move that struck many as both sudden and strange. Gypsy Willis was a much younger woman, and her connection to Martin would soon become a focal point of the investigation. She had been romantically involved with Martin for some time, and it was clear that their relationship was not a casual one. After Michelle's death, Gypsy moved into the McNeil home, further cementing the growing suspicions surrounding Martin's involvement in his wife's death. As the investigation unfolded, authorities began to question the legitimacy of Martin's initial explanation of events. His quick actions to cover up his wife's death, coupled with the discovery of suspicious medications and his relationship with Gypsy, led detectives to dig deeper into the circumstances surrounding Michelle's tragic passing. What had once seemed like an accidental drowning was starting to look like something far more sinister. And the more investigators uncovered, the clearer it became that Michelle McNeil's death was far from a simple accident. The death of Michelle McNeil initially appeared to be a tragic accident, but as days turned into weeks, cracks in the story began to form. The investigation into her death would soon reveal a tangled web of deceit, manipulation, and betrayal. One of the first revelations that cast doubt on the accidental drowning theory was Martin McNeil's extramarital affair with a younger woman named Gypsy Willis. Gypsy was not just an ordinary acquaintance. She had been romantically involved with Martin for months before Michelle's death. The affair came to light when Michelle's daughters, particularly Alexis and Rachel, noticed how quickly Gypsy entered their lives after their mother's passing. Mere weeks after Michelle's death, Martin brought Gypsy into the family home under the guise of hiring her as a nanny. This abrupt move raised eyebrows among family members and friends. Alexis, Michelle's eldest daughter and a medical student at the time, was particularly suspicious. She knew her father's history of controlling behavior and couldn't ignore the speed with which Gypsy had assumed a prominent role in their lives. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered that Martin had been in contact with Gypsy even on the day of Michelle's death. Phone records revealed frequent communication between the two, further suggesting that Gypsy's presence in Martin's life was more than coincidental. While the affair painted a troubling picture, it was the forensic evidence that provided concrete proof that something was amiss. After pressure from Michelle's family, a more thorough examination of her death was conducted. The initial autopsy had ruled her death as natural, citing cardiovascular disease, but Michelle's family, especially her daughters, pushed for further testing. A toxicology report revealed high levels of several prescription medications in Michelle's system, including Valium, Ambien, and Phenergan. These drugs, when combined, could cause extreme drowsiness, confusion, and respiratory depression. Michelle had no history of abusing medications, and it became clear that the combination of drugs was not accidental. Alexis, using her medical knowledge, suspected her father had deliberately given Michelle the drugs to incapacitate her. She recalled how her mother had expressed discomfort with the medications Martin had insisted she take following her cosmetic surgery. Michelle had even confided in Alexis that she feared her husband might be trying to harm her. As the investigation continued, Michelle's daughters uncovered more evidence of Martin's manipulative behavior. They discovered that he had been orchestrating financial frauds, including forging documents and falsifying information to secure benefits for Gypsy Willis. At one point, Martin and Gypsy even created a fake identity for Gypsy, listing her as a member of the McNeil family. The more the daughters investigated, the more they found themselves at odds with their father, but they refused to back down. They worked tirelessly to compile evidence and present it to law enforcement, urging them to reopen the case. Their persistence paid off when detectives began to re-examine the timeline and circumstances surrounding Michelle's death. Martin's erratic behavior, the toxicology results, and the discovery of his affair with Gypsy Willis all pointed to foul play. Investigators pieced together a theory. Martin had deliberately overmedicated Michelle, rendering her helpless before drowning her in the bathtub to make it look like an accident. The motive? To eliminate Michelle from the picture and pave the way for a life with Gypsy, free from the constraints of his marriage. Michelle's daughters, particularly Alexis and Rachel, became vocal advocates for their mother, speaking to media outlets and working with legal experts to ensure their father was held accountable. Their determination to seek justice for Michelle became a driving force in the case, inspiring investigators to dig deeper into Martin's actions. In 2013, 6 years after Michelle's death, Martin stood trial for her murder. The prosecution painted a grim picture of a calculated man who had meticulously planned to kill his wife to clear the path for his mistress, Gypsy Willis. Prosecutors argued that Martin had manipulated Michelle into taking a dangerous combination of medications following her cosmetic surgery, rendering her unable to defend herself. They alleged that he had then drowned her in the bathtub to make it look like an accident. The courtroom was filled with moments that gripped the nation. Michelle's daughters, Alexis and Rachel, were among the prosecution's star witnesses. Alexis testified about her father's insistence on medicating Michelle, recalling how her mother had expressed fear that Martin was trying to harm her. She described the unusual behavior her father exhibited after Michelle's death, including his swift decision to bring Gypsy Willis into their home. Gypsy Willis herself was called to testify. On the stand, she admitted to her affair with Martin and to participating in his schemes to defraud the government, including creating a fake identity. While Gypsy denied any direct involvement in Michelle's death, her testimony reinforced the prosecution's narrative of Martin's motive. Forensic experts also took the stand, explaining how the combination of drugs found in Michelle's system could have incapacitated her, making it easier for someone to stage her drowning. The toxicology report was a crucial piece of evidence, highlighting the improbability of Michelle's death being accidental. The defense team argued that Michelle's death was a tragic accident, emphasizing her history of health issues. They claimed that Martin had no reason to kill his wife and attempted to discredit the testimonies of Alexis and Rachel, suggesting they were driven by emotion rather than facts. However, the jury was unconvinced. The accumulation of evidence, from Martin's erratic behavior to the timeline of events, pointed overwhelmingly to foul play. After hours of deliberation, the jury reached a unanimous verdict. Martin McNeil was found guilty of first-degree murder and obstruction of justice. The announcement of the verdict brought a mix of relief and sorrow to Michelle's family, who had fought tirelessly to see justice served. Martin was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But the story did not end there. In April 2017, Martin was found dead in his prison cell. Authorities ruled his death a suicide. For Michelle's family, the news was another blow, reopening wounds they had worked hard to heal. Michelle's daughters expressed mixed emotions about Martin's death. While they were relieved that he could no longer harm anyone else, they mourned the loss of any opportunity for closure or accountability from their father. The trial and its aftermath left an indelible mark on Michelle's family and the community that followed the case closely. For many, it was a cautionary tale of betrayal and justice, a reminder of the importance of fighting for the truth no matter how long it takes. For Michelle's family, especially her daughters Alexis and Rachel, the conviction of their father brought a sense of justice, though it could never replace the loss of their beloved mother. Their persistence, courage, and determination were instrumental in uncovering the truth and ensuring Martin McNeil faced the consequences of his actions. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories.